Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Meadows Makers Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Dowd. Welcome to the show tonight. We are streaming out to Theta TV through the MSP Waves community, through our Hive community, here in the Minute Support Project on Hive, and out to YouTube and Odysee. And so tonight I have some good stuff for you. The first hour we're going to be doing the kind of all my projects that I've been working on lately. This podcast is all about trying to give you guys, some white pill, some things that I'm learning and doing and trying to become more self-reliant in my own life and trying to share some of those things that I'm learning with you guys, so that hopefully you can have a better future and be more resilient for whatever comes your way. So that's what I've been working on in my life and going on that journey. And just working on trying to get to a better place myself. So that's what my podcast is about. So welcome, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Easter. Shalom, Normot. Good to see you, man. I hope you had a great Easter. You had a wonderful week last week. I was able to get some things accomplished over the weekend, over the Easter weekend, and been continuously working on getting the aquaponics system up and running at the local makerspace at the Monkey's Wrench here in Huntsville, Alabama. And it's been going really well over there. I've been spending a lot of time over there trying to get that system up and running and get some great food growing in the system and show off that you can grow fish and plants together in that aquaponics system I built that was designed by my buddy Robbie Olson. And you can check out those designs and get an idea on how the system works at his website, DIYaquaponic.com. And I can I'll throw that in the chat room as well. DIYaquaponic.com. So last week I was super tired because I had stayed really late at the makerspace working on the bell siphon. I had got all that figured out. I had done that. And so this week it's been running continuously on its own without me having to monitor the system or anything like that. And so it has been running really well. Angelica7, welcome. Today I celebrate 5 years in the blockchain, and I share good vibes with all the friends I've been able to meet in this lifetime. Love to all the friends I've been able to meet at PAL. Each one has been very kind, and I just want to say thank you. A hug and good vibes for everyone from the Spanish channel, where we are every Tuesday with the talent meeting. Awesome. Thank you so much, Angelica7. That's great. Yeah, I have traveled over there to I love Latin America, man. Like spending time in Acapulco, spending a little time in Acapulco, Mexico. And I'd love to go back. I got a buddy that his wife is Colombian, and I'd like to go visit Colombia at some point. But yeah, maybe I should hang out with you guys on the Spanish channel and brush up on some Spanish. So thank you so much for that comment. But yeah, guys, I have been working on those two projects. I'm about to post a video to Twitter so I can pull it up and show to you guys. But shout out to Rondon and for pointing me to the video of Cody's lab one of the times that we were on here streaming, and about how he built his biochar retort. And also a shout out to Porterhouse and Teal in their YouTube channel, because I kind of use inspiration from both of their designs on how they did DIY'd this, and was able to use their videos as good instructions to build my own biochar system. So I'm just tweeting this out right now, so bear with me for a minute here. But it was really fun. I got to fire this up last night and give it the first test run. We had to do some stuff to get the fire going pretty good, because a lot of our wood is still kind of wet around here. We've had a really wet spring, and so everything has been like super wet and hard to get everything dried out. So it's been kind of a bummer. But what's up, Rondon, man? Yeah, that video pretty much gave me everything I needed, because like I was just trying to think of all the materials I would need, and the way he did the retort was really just use really common stuff that you can get anywhere. So that's why I really appreciated it. So thank you for pointing me to that video, because I was kind of scratching my head on how I could make it work, but then I was thinking about all the stuff I had, and I couldn't quite figure it out. So Rondon, you're saying that he's getting a little weird though. Yeah, I haven't checked out a ton of his stuff, but yeah, he was a really good inspiration for figuring this out. You haven't watched any of his videos in a few years, Normok. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just that one video was really helpful. No problem. Glad I could help. Thank you, man. And Rondon's going to be right back. So let me see if I can cue this up for you guys. I just posted a little short video on my Twitter feed, so I can give you an idea of what we're doing here. And let's see here. See if I can pull it up for you. Let's go scroll down here. And just using really simple tools and, pretty common tools for everybody, and really common materials. And I'll kind of walk you guys through how all this went, and some of the lessons learned that I picked up from building this biochar system and cranking it on for the first time last night. So let me change my view here. Actually, I'm going to have to pull up my internet source in the proper browser here, which is this one, I believe. All right, here we go. So, if all my audio is set up right, should be able to play this for you. You can check it out. So here we go. And I plan on this is like a 6-minute video, but I just pulled out all the tools I ended up using and put it in a little video for you guys here, just kind of showing you the basics of what you'll need to make this yourself. So let me turn off that. Tools I use for this project. So just a drill, 3/16 drill bit, rivet gun, some 3/16 aluminum rivets, and these a couple of these step bits. This one goes up to 1 inch and 3/8, but as you can see, I only went up to like 1 inch and 1/8 on the holes for these bottom holes here. And I just did a staggered pattern of the holes, probably every six inches, going around the base of the barrel. And then for those top holes, I took this
drill bit, this step drill bit that goes up to 7/8 of an inch, and I think I went to around a 9/16 hole saw size, or a hole size, and I kind of varied top and bottom holes, and again just did a staggered pattern going all the way around. And that's one large hole that I thought I was gonna turn this into a wood gasifier at one point, but so yeah, just staggering size, varied size holes at the top, like close to the top of the barrel. Let's say it's probably about 3 inches down. And yeah, you just get your fire going, and as it burns from the top to the bottom, all the coals, hot coals, will fall to the bottom. And once you get that heat rising through this wood stove pipe here, it draws in a lot of oxygen in the bottom of the retort, is what I observed. And you shouldn't see very much smoke coming out of these holes if it's burning really hot. And in fact, I saw the barrel get like red hot in several places, and you should end up with some nice.
Should end up with this. This is the end result, which is all this carbonized wood, and it's going through a process called pyrolysis. So it's basically just driving off all the gases, all the water, and all that stuff from the wood, and you're like you're basically baking wood. And so it gets to a point where it should catch on fire, but you're starving it of oxygen. So instead of catching on fire, it just turns into carbon, and like a really porous carbon. And so that's all you're doing, and it's a really simple method for doing this, and there's lots of great benefits of this biochar material, especially if you're doing any kind of gardening. And it's supposed to help with water remediation and can help with the health of your animals. It's can be ingested as like if somebody is poisoned or something like that, it could help absorb the toxins. It can help with water remediation, allegedly. But yeah, after you do this, then you have to do a couple more steps, which is you need to crush up that biochar into, like, from what I've heard, it's like a 10 millimeter size particle. And then you also need to do what they call inoculate the biochar. And what that's doing, from what I understand, is there's tars and things that are left on the surface of that charred wood after you do this process. And you need to strip all that stuff off of there before it's going to go into your gardens or help you grow food or anything like that. And it's also going to establish like a colony of bacteria and soak up, whatever kind of, it's going to soak up a bunch of stuff, because it's like I said, it's super porous. And I guess it can actually like sap minerals and stuff from the ground if you put it straight down into the ground without putting it through some kind of composting process, or putting it in water and letting it sit there for a while. And so you got to do those other two steps, but you also want to be careful of this stuff after you've made it. It's like super. It can create a lot of dust, especially when you have to powderize it and everything like that. So you'd want to be pretty careful of breathing that stuff in. But yeah, we just took a bunch of branches that were laying around that had from a tree that fell, and just kind of broke them up. They were dry enough to be able to just break it by hand, and that's what you want. I believe we want really dry wood, and in fact, that we had an issue with that when we first started this thing up. because the wood was too wet. It wouldn't ignite everything, and so that's what you want. I don't think you really don't want to add any kind of like lighter fluid or anything like that. I wanted to try to avoid any of that. Even though the stuff that you're going to carbonize is going to be on the outside of the combustion chamber, if you have to use lighter fluid, um, I think that your wood's not dry enough yet. But anyway, we kind of left it for a day, and we left all the wood in there in the barrel. And then we came back, and then we were like, well, what if we try some charcoal? And I was like, well, I don't think that's going to be, I think that'll probably be fine. To use just some charcoal briquettes to help get the whole fire going and help with the wood. And I was like, I didn't really know if it was going to work out or not, but I wanted to give it a try. I was really excited to try this since I had most of the thing put together. And so we gave it a try the other night and let it burn throughout the night. Got it started probably around, I don't know, like 8 p.m. or something like that. I watched it till about 10 p.m. and kind of observed what it was doing. And in the video, I didn't get to explain this part, but originally I did not have the wood stovepipe attached to the top of the lid by riveting it to the top. It was just I put a crude hole in the top lid of this 55-gallon metal barrel, and I just used my angle grinder to create the hole, and I just made a really crude hole in there, and so it doesn't fit perfectly around the stovepipe there. So actually the stovepipe was kind of sinking down into the barrel a little bit, and what I was noticing was like that stovepipe was cutting off the airflow because it was hitting the top of that trash can. So the way I resolved that was to take my angle grinder and on that lower section of the wood stove pipe, I just cut several slots in the bottom of it, probably going up about just to the top of where that crimping was. And then took a large set of pliers and just kind of bent that back so that I could get I could drill and rivet in the top of that stovepipe so it would sit on that lid really nicely. And I don't know if I got a good shot of that in here, but actually I did. Right at the beginning here, you can see it. Let me see if I can get it. With it not being so shaky or not so blurry. But here's a picture. Here's a picture of what that looks like. And so yeah, I just bent the metal back right here of where that crimping was on the stovepipe, and bent it out, and then just drilled some 3/16 holes in there and used some 3/16 rivets to rivet that on the top of the lid so that it could sit. We could fill this thing up with a bunch of the wood, more of the wood, and not worry about that stovepipe being blocked off, because I saw that once that air was starting to really that he was able to rise up through this stovepipe, that it really got the fire going like incredibly hot at the bottom of the retort. So I just getting that lesson learned, I wanted to modify this a bit, and it was a really simple modification. So just using an angle grinder and a large set of pliers was just able to bend that metal, and then just using the drill and a rivet gun, and just put 4 rivets in there to secure it to the top lid of that barrel. And I think that'll help with the performance of the retort in the future here. So super stoked about this and being able to create my own biochar. And we talked about it on the podcast a while back. and was super happy to get this accomplished. So, one project under the belt. We'll be putting out a video going into more detail on how I put all this together. Um, but yeah, it was super simple. I think you have to have like a pretty good size hole. I think, like I said in that short little clip, that I used a step drill bit that goes up to, I think it went up to like in probably like, what did I say? Like an inch and a quarter or something like that. It was probably like an inch and a half or something for the bottom holes, and I think I went up to like an inch and an eighth for the holes along the bottom of the big 55-gallon metal barrel, and then uh, just like some 9/16 holes, and I wasn't so precise on drilling these holes or anything like that. I just know that you need an air inlet at the bottom, and then you also need an air inlet toward the top of the barrel, so that when the fire gets started from the top and as it works its way down to be able to evenly heat the inner the inner chamber where you're going to create where you're going to stack all your wood to get carbonized, that you need to have a way for all that oxygen to get in there to keep that fire going, and to create a draw so that there's like a natural convection that starts, and that it does the job for you, so you don't have to hold a leaf blower to it or anything like that. It's just kind of a natural process that starts because of the thermodynamics of it. So it worked out really well. Just a cheap metal trash can you could you could probably find at like any of the local stores around you, like a home improvement store. But one thing that I think is pretty critical is that that lid needs a seal, or at least when you put that lid on the metal trash can, it needs to like stick on there. Like I could actually push it down and kind of lift the whole trash can with the top of the lid. So that needs to like kind of be a pretty decent seal on there. But all you do from there is just take that metal trash can. You're actually going to flip it upside down. And let's see if I show that here in the video. I'm not sure if I did or not. Do I get to that? No, I didn't get to that part. But anyway, that's all you would do is take that metal trash can, flip it upside down. Sorry, I'm getting a little out of order here. First, you want to put enough wood in the bottom of this 55-gallon drum to do the bottom part of your fire. And you're going to build that bottom part up so that you can put your metal trash can in there and still give you some space at the top here, that you can fill that with some more wood and build your top fire. And then you're going to fill around that metal trash can with more wood around the sides, and preferably really dried wood. Some like smaller sticks and like down limbs and any of that kind of stuff. It works really good. Or you could take some trees that you may have had to cut down, like some smaller trees that you cut down and had to dry out, or like brush or anything like that that you had to clean up. And that would work really well, that you stack up. You can even like chunk up like old pallets and stuff, is what I've seen some dudes do. Like if you're gonna use pallet wood, I would use the wood that's stamped with HT on the side. And I don't think that they use any chemicals to in those pallets to treat them. Uh, so so those pallets with HT that are stamped on the side, you can find all over the place. But yeah, you would have to chunk up the wood so that you know you can fit in the barrel and in that metal trash can nicely. And I think actually the random size stuff, like if you can make stuff of random size, I think it helps carbonize better. So that like you don't want like huge chunks of stuff in here because you might not get a full. It may not fully carbonize all the way. So like probably like randomly sized stuff works the best. But this is only the first time I've done this, so I haven't got to play around with it a bunch. But that's just what I've heard from the folks like Porterhouse and Teal and the Cody's Lab guy that did this as well. So those are some of my takeaways from building that biochar retort system. And the other thing I've been working on, I've been talking to you guys a bit about, has been the Urbanite aquaponics system. And I think I do have a couple of photos I can share with you guys on that because I've been doing some water quality testing, and I have been checking out all the different, like a bunch of different water quality factors from it's just a freshwater test kit. And I used to do this when I had the aquaponics system up and running at my city house. So here's actually a current view of the water quality, what the tank looks like and everything. Posting this in the Discord chat for you guys. This is what it was like a couple weeks ago. So I kind of posted that in the reverse order. But let's see. Here's the same view. So that's what it did look like. This is what the water quality looks like now. And I did have to go in there with like a brush and kind of brush it out a little bit. And but that standpipe was taking care of all the big particles and things that were in there. And all that's getting cleaned up by those two filter buckets that are in the system. And then here is kind of a picture on some of the water quality tests that I did recently. And let's see. I actually have some of the results in a note file here. And I can drop that into this for you. Let's do this. So I've been taking readings of pH, nitrite and nitrate levels, ammonia levels, and I have seen a change in the ammonia level specifically from when I started the system to where it is now. So what you're looking at, pretty much everything was about the same from when I tested it on the 7th of April to the 10th. So that's only 3 days difference, but already seeing a change in the ammonia level. And how I'm looking at that is I've got a test tube with a bunch of different I've got these different test tubes and these different solutions that you put in the test tubes to look at the color changes, and then you kind of use a color chart to match up each test tube with the corresponding test that you did. And so I'm just holding the test tube to the right of the thing that I was testing in this picture for example. So that would be the nitrite level. And there's some pretty sharp contrast that you can tell, like if you're like in the higher ranges. But yeah, let me also bring this up on my internet browser here. But let me post this to the old Twitter here. Let me post a few of these pictures here. Let's see. Let's do this one. This one. And this one here. So, water quality. Let's see. Changes in the urbanite system. Tweeted it out, so let's check this out here. Let me pull this up in the window here so I can show you guys what I'm talking about on screen. Sure, let me refresh this page. Right here. And then go back here. And we gonna pull this up. All right, so yeah, before this was a before picture from when I first, like, this was like right after I got that bell siphon working, and it had been working for probably about a week at this point. And what I noticed was I originally had the tube that comes from the sump tank where all the water flows down into. It was returning to the aquarium, but it was pointed directly down. And I learned that that's not great, because you actually want to get a little bit of a flow going inside of the aquarium, so that incoming water can help take up any of the stuff that's falling to the bottom, any of the solids that are falling to the bottom inside the aquarium, that they can get sucked back in through the standpipe right there and get pulled through the filters. So a big reason that there was so much stuff in here in the beginning is just all the rocks that I'm using in the media bed. They all kind of had a silt on them, kind of a, some dirt and stuff from the rocks being in their bags, and just kind of had some dirt and really fine particles of rock dust and stuff in there. And so all that stuff gets washed out, and it's getting washed into the sump tank, and so that's that pump is just pulling a lot of that stuff back up into the aquarium. And so, as that media bed floods and drains, it's going to pull more and more of that rock dust and stuff down into the sump tank. It's going to get pumped up into the aquarium, and what I realized was that water being faced down here in the tank, it was just like settling all across the bottom of the tank. And there was like one clean area, which was like right where the water was kind of shooting down into the tank. And then the rest of the tank was getting kind of murky, really murky. So what I did was I got some of these zip ties and some of these little sticky pads, and I was able to kind of change the angle that the incoming water was coming into the aquarium, so that I could get a little bit of a flow going on that aquarium and be able to move some of those particles and stuff around, so they would eventually get picked up by this standpipe. One of the other things that I need to adjust on this is this is just a 1-inch T-fitting, PVC T-fitting, and a 1-inch pipe that that should go like very close to the bottom of the aquarium. And what I noticed was that it being probably about maybe like an inch from the bottom, uh, or more, maybe 2 inches, that it just wasn't entirely grabbing all the stuff that it could have been sucking up from the bottom there. So I just need to increase the length of that so that it will go pretty close to the bottom, enough of a gap that it can, it can still do its suction action, but like not so that any fish could get sucked up in this or anything like that, and it can pull all those solids, all those solid particles up through there. And then just make sure that this water is continuously kind of get circulating inside of the aquarium, so it helps build up this, or helps take all those solids out from there. So yeah, this was after doing a little bit of manual cleaning with a I don't know. It was one of those scrapers, like ice scrapers that I used with the brush on it, to kind of clean up the glass on the inside of the aquarium. And I did that a little bit and just kind of helped move everything over to the standpipe over there that is running to the bottom of the aquarium, so it helped pick up all the solids and stuff. So I did a little bit of manual work there, and that with the water flowing in that direction, that it really helped out the water. Normock, you're asking, do I plan to paint the aquarium? That's a good question. It was painted by my buddy Robbie. He painted it white to be a little bit more reflective, I think. Especially, I think it was like the direction of the sun that it was facing. Um, so what I am currently intending to do here is I think I'm going to be putting up a shade cloth over top of the aquarium specifically, to help with any like huge temperature swings. But I didn't want to have to resort to doing something like that. But if my temperature is not going to be like super stable in the water, I'm going to have to do something like that, I think. Um, so yeah, it was previously painted white on one side of the aquarium, and I think my buddy Robbie did that to help reflect some of the sun that came into the water in the aquarium to keep it from heating up too bad during the day. And so that's my current plan, is to put up a shade cloth over it and monitor the temperature in that way. And you're right. I don't want to build up a ton of algae. Um, so I may have to resort to something like that, um, to keep all the algae from going crazy. One of the things that I think somebody did recommend to me was that there were these freshwater snails that could help take care of algae in the tank. And so that might be something that I look into as well. But you're right, that is going to be an issue. Uh, and I kind of wanted to have it open, but like if it's going to be forming a bunch of algae, I am going to have to address that. But yeah, you're right. Uh, I forgot about that. I forgot about that part, because when we do the big IBC totes, it's usually cut off from the sunlight because I put this reflective insulation on the outside of it. But uh, you're right. Probably just painting it is probably going to be something I need to do. I wanted to keep it open so that people could see the fish and stuff swimming around in there, but you're right. I probably am going to have a big issue with the algae. This is the first time I've done this in this kind of setup, so I haven't uh, done a system quite like this. So But very good point. Thank you, Normark. I didn't really think about that, man. So, see, what are you saying? Tape some dark material and it could be removable. Yeah, that's an idea. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe I could like 3D print something that could go along the frame of the aquarium, and then it could be like a slotted thing so that I could like epoxy some little uh just like a tab in here so that I could um put a piece of something down through those, and it would be reflective. Uh, yeah, to help cut down on that algae. So yeah, I'll think of a cool way of doing it because I'd still like people to see like all the fish swimming in here because it's gonna be a public piece, kind of. It's not really public, but the makerspace they got different people coming through there all the time, and they have events there and stuff. Uh, so I'd like to be able to show it off and people to be able to see the fish and everything happening in the system and all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, I'll come up with some kind of cool solution that'll make it look pretty neat. Maybe maybe make it look kind of steampunky or something like that. I kind of like that aesthetic. Um, like laser engraved piece of wood or something. There's a full wood shop there, which is really cool. So I could actually like now that I think about it, I could probably just use the wood shop and then um, just create a couple of slots in some pieces of wood and actually create like a something that could be removable that would go around the entire aquarium. So it cut down on all the light and help prevent all the algae from growing in there. So good point, man. I think I don't know quite if Robbie had anything in his instructions about that either, so I'll have to let him know about that in his DIY plans. Because I have started to see, because this is like the prototype system for this design, and it is intended to be outdoors. So, uh, so yeah, I have seen some algae started to grow on that standpipe that helps to remove the solids from the water. So we're gonna have to figure out something to do with that. Good point. But on the top of this thing, I'm just using like a really simple feeder timer, and it's got like a couple of things that you can manually program on the timer, and it just runs off of a like a I think a couple double A batteries, and it just slowly rotates, and you put your fish food in there, and it'll feed your fish on a the intervals that you set with those little. It's got some little plastic tabs, and then it easily can attach to the side of an aquarium. I don't know if I have a good picture of that little setup, but let me scroll through some of my photos here and see if I've got maybe a better view of that. Yeah, here we go. So that's coming from that sandpipe into the first filter bucket there, and that's a picture of what the manual timer looks like. So Normok, you are saying lyric algae produces oxygen, so I guess that's good for the fish. Yeah, um, so Robbie was telling me that it would be a good idea to put in some air stones into the aquarium as well, which is something that I neglected to think about because the fish do need enough dissolved oxygen in the water uh, for their health as well. So, so I also need to do that. I need to add a couple of air stones. And I have an air pump and a couple of air stones from the larger system. So I'll just add that in there. But yeah, that's a good point. One of the like all the levels that you're supposed to monitor in the system is like nitrates and nitrites, uh, and and let's see, ammonia levels from their pee and stuff like that, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so I've done a few of these, and the algae will definitely affect the system, especially in your grow beds. Like if the water in your grow beds gets to a certain height, you want it to stay below the level of the rock media in the bed. And then from what I remember, I think I always did have some kind of cover or shading in on over my fish tanks um, to keep uh, stuff from growing in there. But I've always been raising this blue Nile tilapia, and they're omnivorous. And so I think they'll even eat the algae. I'm not sure, but they may have kept all that algae down if any algae did want to grow in there. Um, they may have taken care of it for me, but I'd like to put different kind of fish in here. Like what I was thinking about doing was putting some local, just catching some local bluegill and throwing them in there, just to show that you could use like fish in your local area to raise. Like certain fish you wouldn't want to put in there that are gonna eat your other fish, like bass or whatever. I guess you could, but you'd be feeding them more fish all the time. Let's see, Norma, you're saying that. Let's see. I've never done one of these. Only seen videos that Aussie Murray did, and then yeah, he couldn't do tilapia. I guess they're illegal in Aussie land. You, I don't know. I have seen some of his videos, but I wonder if they are tilapia, but they call them something different, like barramundi or something like that. Because well, it might be a different fish because the one thing I know about this aquaponic stuff that the tilapia are really hardy. They're really hard to kill. About the only way you can kill it, like they can handle like really huge swings in pH, and like they have a really high population density and like live in like super crappy water, like murky, muddy water, nasty water. And that's why a lot of aquaponics guys use them, because I mean, you can like s- stack them and pack them, right? I mean, you can just like stack them in a system, so you get a bunch of protein out of them, and they spawn like crazy. I think like one female can spawn like 3,000 fry or something like that. They just like can populate like crazy. So they're pretty great fish to use in a system like this, especially for somebody that's just beginning doing aquaponics, because there are a lot of factors like chemistry factors that go into this, like I was talking about uh, with the ammonia levels and the nitrite and nitrate levels. So I always get it mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that you want to convert the nitrites to the nitrates, I believe. It's either the nitrites to nitrates or nitrates to nitrites. So let me look that up real quick. Something called the nitrogen cycle, because I think I've talked about this in the past, and I've probably told you guys wrong. So let me see if I get this right. See the nitrogen cycle. Sure. Nitrogen cycle in the aquarium. Okay. Let's look at this aquarium co-op easy guide to the nitrogen cycle for aquariums here. Okay. What is the nitrogen cycle? All right. When aquarium hobbyists talk about the nitrogen cycle, they're usually referring to the specific part of the cycle where the fish waste turns into toxic nitrogen compounds like ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates. These nitrogen compounds can potentially kill our fish unless we make sure we have plenty of microorganisms, also known as the beneficial bacteria, and plants to consume the waste products. For the purposes of our illustration, let's use yellow, brown, and blue M&Ms to represent the three toxic nitrogen compounds. Yellow being ammonia, brown nitrite, blue nitrate. They're saying nitrite, which is somewhat toxic, nitrate, which is not as toxic as ammonia, and nitrite. So it may be from nitrites to nitrates. Whenever your fish goes to the bathroom, some ammonia is produced. Beneficial bacteria eats the ammonia and produces nitrites. Okay. So yeah, I think that's the way it goes. It goes from nitrites, and then the nitrates is what the bacteria convert those nitrites to the nitrates, and then those nitrates are taken up by the plants, and basically act as a way to filter out those nitrates from the system. The fish continue to eat food and produce waste, which gets processed from ammonia and nitrates into more nitrates. Eventually, the amount of nitrates will build up and can become harmful to the fish in high amounts. You must remove the nitrates by either doing a water change or by using aquarium plants. So that's what we're doing. We're using plants to take up those nitrates. So let's see. What are you saying here, Normock? Also, do you have to match aquarium temperature to the crops you want to grow, or does that even matter? So, as far as the crops temperature, I mean, you do want to keep the temperature warm. Like, you don't want to, you don't want to go you don't want to go cold. Like, ideally, this would be in a greenhouse, and you would heat the water in some form or fashion, whether that be like through like a compost heating system or something like that, where you run like a heat exchanger through like a pile of compost or something. You can heat it that way. Or you could do something that I've been considering, like building with this system, is to run it through like a sand battery. But basically, basically, you just don't want the water to get too cold for your plants, is what I would say. But I don't think there's like, I mean, they could handle higher temperatures for the water, no problem. And I haven't had any issues during the summertime with any of the plants that I've had. It's the fish that are the bigger questions. So like if your fish are gonna live, then your plants are gonna live. So a lot of the fish, you just want to target the temperature range for your fish. So you do want to monitor the temperature. Really simple way to do that, I think, is to they make like these little sticky thermometer things that you can just put on the inside of the aquarium in the water, and it'll just kind of change color. It'll give you just a reading. Real simple way to look at the water temperature. But yeah, your fish are gonna have a temperature range that they can live in. And you're right, trout need cold water to grow. And I do think that they do trout in aquaponic systems. So, and I don't think they do have to heat the water or anything. Uh, so yeah, they're as I think probably as long as that water's not freezing, freezing cold, that should be able to be fine for plants. Um, but I haven't tried that, so I really don't know how to. I don't have a good answer for you, so on that one. But I just know that if I don't have the aquaponics system, every time that I tried to grow during the winter with aquaponics, uh, I had to put in some kind of heater, and I did it like just really crappily in the beginning, just with like a resistive heater against the sides of the aquaponics main fish tank, and then I just put a insulation around it and had it inside of a greenhouse. And that actually kept my fish alive through the wintertime, but it used a ton of electricity that I didn't, you don't want to use. Like I used an old waterbed heater mat, and then I just kind of had it sandwiched in the IBC tote with insulation around it, and then I think I had to put in like a little I put in a little electric space heater, and this is like the totally inefficient way to do it. I'll never do it that way again. That was a really bad idea, but something like you can build like a compost pile or something, and you can run water through that, or have like a black tank with glass, like inside a glass or something, like, and use like the solar during the winter time to help heat the water. We're gonna be doing. I'm buying a micro inverter for 4 of these 280 watt solar panels that I bought recently, and we're going to plug that into a water heater, so it'll be like a preheater. So you could do something like that as well for helping heat the aquaponics system. So like I'm thinking about several different ways, but one of these ways is called a sand battery, and I was thinking about doing something like that. Let's see. So Normock, you need colder temperature versus tilapia. Let's see. Not sure trout would be a good fit for aquaponics. Too many questions. I've heard of people doing trout in aquaponics, and I sure would like to figure that out because trout are pretty tasty. But you kind of want to be in a colder climate for trout, and there's got to be a neat way of figuring it out. Like maybe you could keep it underground somehow. And there was a dude that was keeping all these. It was like a water cistern that was like built underneath his garage or something like that. I saw a video about that on YouTube. It was like a YouTube short or something like that. Let's see. Aquarium. Under garage. And I think this guy was like raising some eels or something like that. Yeah, here it is. The eel pit. So let's check this out.
The eel pit.
There it is.
This guy made like a video, and I guess he's got like just it was some dude's property that he had built a water cistern in there, and looks like here is how he accesses the cistern. And he built himself a. I guess he's raising eels down in there.
So the hardest part is that second ledge. Once you're on there, I'm tall as hell, so it works out pretty good. But just like that,
Easy peasy.
let's go.
Going down to the depths, baby.
Not too bad.
Easy peasy. This is sweet. Yeah. Just, oh my god, that's so sick. Alright, so we've made it into the eel pit, and it's freaking awesome. You've already got eels swimming around already. It's kind of dark over there, but who's the big guy? What was it? Crunchwrap Supreme?
Crunchwrap Supreme.
And then this little dude over here.
I think that's gonna be bathtub there.
So the sound is pretty tough in there, but so yeah, this is like an underground, basically aquaponics system. And it looks like he's got like a biological filter in here that's helping move the water and filter the water that's coming down into this thing. And then he's got a bunch of stones in here that he can walk along, just a bunch of cinder blocks, so you can kind of walk along in there and raise these little eels down in there. So I would think if you could do something like that, and then like if you wanted to circulate the water above the surface and grow your plants off of it to help, utilize those plants to create, filters some of that stuff for you, some of those nitrates, then you could avoid like doing some of the, different kind of filtration setups that you have to do, like bead filters and things like that. So, thinking from a South Dakota perspective, the internet says the ideal temp for trout is 34 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just guessing, but probably not great for plants like tomatoes or peppers, but fine for cabbage and similar crops. Yeah, good point. Like tomatoes, dude, they need some heat to them, but I'm guessing like what I'm saying is as long as you can keep your trout, like if you could keep them in a well insulated tank that you can temperature control, and if whatever the outside temperature is, I'm sure like in the summertime it'd probably be fine growing some stuff like that, but as your temperatures dip, I don't think you might not have enough to grow stuff like that in the winter time, like in a greenhouse even. But during the summertime, I think you would probably be fine. See, keeping a tank at 70 degrees Fahrenheit during winter is going to be super expensive. Right. That's the problem I'm trying to figure out myself. I'm trying to tackle that issue because I sure do like aquaponics. And, that's the main hurdle is having to shut down during the wintertime because, we've tried to do that and used electric heating, and it's really a no-go for that. It's just way too expensive like you're talking about. So it's got to be something else. It's got to be like a passive way of doing it. Like I said, like maybe through a compost heating system or some solar water heater thing, or these solar panels and just directly to a micro inverter that runs a water heater system so that you're not having to pull from your utilities all the time, and then have insulated tanks and stuff like that. So but it would be really cool because you could grow, a lot of stuff year round, because that is what the aquaponics does afford you, is that since those nitrates are so readily available to be taken up by the plants, it's like they don't have to. I guess they get spoiled, I guess, but they've got everything they need to for their growth, so you can get like some pretty rapid growth out of the plants. um, in an aquaponic system. So there's definitely a way to lick it, but that is the biggest hurdle, is to try to keep the water at a stable temperature, especially going into the winter time. But the cool thing about these sand batteries is like you could, and I've heard Curtis Stone talking about this, which is what I do want to get into with you guys during the second part of the show. And I'm going to cut off my YouTube stream here. And we're going to go over to Odysee, and then we'll still be streaming to mspwaves.com/watch. So you guys can watch it over there. But for now, I am going to cut off my my YouTube live stream. So thank you guys that were hanging out. If you're hanging out on the old YouTube, we'll see you guys later, because YouTube doesn't like some of the things that I talk about. But as long as we're talking about, homesteading and all this kind of stuff, that don't seem to be having any issues with that so far. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for some of you guys out there. Go over to the Odysee channel and let me make sure I post that link in the YouTube chat for anybody that might want to join over there. Just letting you know, we'll be over here and gonna end the stream on YouTube. There we go. There we go.